AI, the Somnium Files. And this is the first one in the series. There's actually a sequel that came out not that long ago. So like anything that's good or awesome, it starts with a murder. You're basically like this elite investigator with this AI eyeball. I mean, yeah, it's a Japanese game. You have an AI, an artificial intelligence eyeball. Over time, this like extremely complex and interwoven story begins to form. The game, it deals with like dreams and alternate realities and, you know, the Yakuza and internet influencers and a bunch of other stuff. You know, all the basic stuff you'd run into in your daily goings about. You know, like when you run into the Yakuza and alternate realities. Mostly the gameplay centers around just like reading dialogue. It is kind of like a visual novel. Luckily, most of it's voice acted, which is nice. But really the only gameplay centers around inspecting these crime scenes for clues. You basically control the AI in your dreams. Your eyeball manifests itself as this like sexy anime girl, and you need to unlock hidden memories to help out with the investigation. Most of the investigation centers around doing these like nonsensical puzzle solving elements that they kind of like play off as, you know, oh, it's a dream world, so it doesn't need to make sense. You're basically just like rubbing object A against object B, hoping something happens. But it's usually under like this really strict time limit that you kind of have to manipulate to advance the story. Because it's like a dreamlike world and it doesn't make sense, as I mentioned, you know, it involves a lot of trial and error. And that's not necessarily a lot of fun, but sometimes when you do the wrong thing, something humorous can happen, and that's kind of one of the big draws of the game. Obviously, the art style is like super anime. It's done well, but some of the, I don't know, the character design feels, for lack of a better word, just uninspired. You know, for every really lame character though, there's a really awesome one, and on top of that, they're all voice acted like extremely well. I'm really happy with the voice acting in this game, and it really helped move me through all that dialogue I had to read. There's also a pretty decent soundtrack to accompany all this that gets really good at points, and most of the time it just kind of fades into the background, but it adds some like good urgency to the story and keeps things moving. It's hard to like maintain energy when you're just reading a bunch of words on a screen, but like with some like pumping music, you know, that helps out a lot. Most of the characters are pretty likable from the onset, like I said, and you feel invested in them. The game starts off kind of dark from the beginning, but about 10 hours in, it gets really dark, which is a nice change of pace against the, you know, general goofiness that you deal with at the beginning of the game. There are several plot twists in this game. I'm just gonna tell you, like any investigation game, there's gonna be a bunch of plot twists. And the main one, I kind of like cracked in the first 30 minutes of the game, or so I thought I did, but turns out that's just one of a multitude of twists and turns that happen along the way. So I'm not as smart as I thought I was. There's also some sort of weird like eye symbolism in this game. The main character has a fake eye, which like I said is his AI partner or companion. The killer removes the victim's eyes. The female lead is named Iris, which is like a part of the eye. I don't know, that's kind of interesting, but I feel like it's a little heavy-handed. But I mean, I guess you have to have a theme for a game. You have to have a theme for a game, right? You can't just like throw a bunch of crap together. And this one, they picked eyeballs. I mean, I guess that's as good as anything else. Some things that drive me crazy about the game are that it's full of just like stupid dialogue, as most, you know, kind of anime-based games are, especially visual novels. They have to like fill in the time, and I feel like they feel like they're paid per word, so it gets overly verbose. At times it's really like painful to listen to. Other times it's really witty and funny, you know. It can be a bit of a mixed bag. I don't know what's going on, but there's this like repeated joke about porno mags all throughout the game, and it ends up being like the solution to every tight spot that the main character gets into. I don't know, maybe it was funny the first like 4 times it happened, but in like the 6th time arc where a porno mag is the trick to getting past the Secret Service, like, I don't know, it kind of loses its luster. There's only so many porno magazine jokes that any grown 40-year-old man can appreciate. And that number is apparently 6. It took me about 25 hours to see all of the endings in this game, and I did see all of the endings. I like how they get dark and sinister on some ends and silly on some other ends. And they do get really silly. You know, for example, the game's theme song is titled The Invincible Rainbow Arrow. So there's some levity to the whole situation. There are a multitude of endings, but a lot of them have some real pacing issues, you know, as most visual novels tend to do. It'll show the same flashback 2 or 3 times, like over the course of 10 minutes, just because it doesn't trust you to remember what's happening. There are these branching paths that you have to go down, and like it'll shut you off. It won't let you finish the story, and then you have to go down another branching path to uncover multiple timelines and other puzzles to give you access to go back to the first timeline. So you're jumping around between these multiple timelines. And knowing what's like canon to the story is a little challenging. Like, I don't know even now which story is the correct story. There are like 10 different endings to this game. So I guess you just decide for yourself like which one you want to be the canon ending. Or I guess when I play AI The Somnium Files Part 2, it'll let me know which one is the canon ending. Imagine a murder mystery where no matter who you guessed was the killer, you were right. You know, there's so many branches and endings that like almost every suspect has a path where they end up being the killer. So I know that's kind of a spoiler, but it's kind of not a spoiler. Like, it's just, there's a million different endings. That being said, let me give you my final thoughts. So I 100% completed AI The Somnium Files. I got the Platinum Trophy, I got all the endings, I did everything there was to do in the game. And when all was said and done, I thought it was a really good game. It was an 8 out of 10, which is a great game. Yeah, some of the endings were like dumb, some were really cool, some of them were contrived and far-fetched, but in general I thought it was a really good experience, and I would recommend you complete this game. I'm excited to play the second one. I wish at times it was a little more silly or it was more serious. It kind of straddles that line where it's like tries to be really serious and dark, and at other times it's like the silliest crap you've ever seen in your life with like dance numbers and Minecraft-based worlds and things like that. I think it needs to go hard one way or the other. Like running down the middle, it just lost a little bit of that sparkle that it